1800 hours, Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Farzana Khan. First, the headlines. Prime Minister says scholarships will be given to young filmmakers to portray the real soft image of the country in the world. Foreign Minister says there is no justification to keep Pakistan on FATF grey list after it has implemented 26 out of 27 points of its action plan. Information Minister says Pakistan is interested in building economic relations with the United States to give bilateral ties a new dimension. National Assembly was informed today that solar and wind energy projects are being executed under the government's hence-while policy in producing cheap electricity. AGK Prime Minister says Modi's meetings with the so-called Kashmiri leaders are aimed at diverting international community's attention from the deteriorating situation in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Head of Afghan Peace Council has called for continuation of talks to reach a political settlement of the decades-old strife in Afghanistan. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan says scholarships will be given to young filmmakers to portray the real soft image of the country. He was addressing National Amateur Short Film Festival organized by the Ministry of Information and ISPR in Islamabad today. He said the world does not acknowledge copied material and we should promote our own cultural values and new ideas. The Prime Minister urged the youngsters to promote Pakistanism as they have huge opportunities in film industry. Talking about the religious tourism potential, Imran Khan said that the new millennium acknowledged our great effort of Kartarpur. He said Pakistan has 12 climatic zones, which means it can produce everything and can export to the whole world. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says there is no room to keep Pakistan in grey list after it has implemented 26 out of 27 points of action plan of the Financial Action Task Force. In a statement today, he said it has to be determined whether the FATF is a technical forum or a political one. He said it also needs to be looked into whether this forum is being used for political purposes. The Foreign Minister said some powers desire to keep the sword of FATF hanging over Pakistan. He said the FATF itself has accepted that Pakistan has implemented 26 out of 27 points of action plan, whereas significant progress has been made on the 27th one. Minister for Energy Hamad Azhar says a new action plan by the FATF will be implemented soon. Addressing a presser in Islamabad today, he said the action money laundry plan is much easier to tackle than the previous counter-terrorism one because the government has already enacted laws in this regard. The minister said the FATF has appreciated Pakistan's progress on the previous action plan. Minister for Information and Broadcasting Chaudhry Fawad Hussain has reaffirmed Pakistan's commitment to continue to facilitate the Afghan peace process. In a video message today, he said we desire peace in Afghanistan as it is in Pakistan's own interest. The minister said Prime Minister Imran Khan in his recent interview with the New York Times has once again reiterated that Pakistan will not allow its land to be used against Afghanistan. He said Pakistan is interested to build economic relations with the United States to give a new dimension to the bilateral relationship. The National Assembly, which resumed its session at the Parliament House today, approved 29 demands for grants pertaining to the Cabinet for the next fiscal year. 397 cut motions moved by the opposition on these demands for grants were rejected by the House. Winding up discussion on the cut motions, Advisor on Parliamentary Affairs Babar Awan said the government is strengthening the institutions, including those related to the national security. He said firm action has been taken against corrupt elements and recoveries of 1,000 billion rupees have been made from different mafias, including the land mafia. The House also approved 5 demands for grants pertaining to power and petroleum divisions for the next fiscal year. The cut motions moved by the opposition on these demands for grants were rejected by the House. Winding up discussion on the cut motions, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Ali Muhammad Khan said solar and wind energy projects are being executed under the government's renewable policy to produce cheap electricity. Minister for Information Technology and Telecommunications Syed Aminul Haq says the government is taking all possible steps to increase the IT exports. In a statement today, he said Pakistan's IT industry is rapidly growing. The export remittances, including telecommunication, computer and information services, have risen to over $1.9 billion at a growth rate of over 47% during this fiscal year. This is Radio Pakistan giving you the news. President Dr. Arif Alvi has reaffirmed the government's commitment to eliminate drug trafficking and drug abuse as it poses a serious threat to public health. In his message on the occasion of International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking being observed today, he said we must fulfill our collective responsibility to stop the illicit drug trade through joint efforts. Taking stock of certain fake news being spread by some social media activists to malign Pakistan, the government has resolved to leverage all means, including political, diplomatic and legal, to bring these detractors to justice. In a statement, a government spokesman said it has come to the notice that certain social media activists and dissident elements sitting in the European countries are spreading fake news about Pakistan. He said the said social activists are engaged in disinformation, defamation, libel, incitement of violence and agenda setting to malign Pakistani government and its state institutions for vested interests. He said it has also been reliably learned that some of them have linkages with hostile intelligence agencies, especially RAW, for funding, feeding and sheltering. Research and Analysis Wing spokesman said nefarious activities of detractors have been shared with the respective governments hosting them, and they have been asked to cooperate with Pakistan to bring them to justice as per laws of their countries and laws of Pakistan. Azad Jammu and Kashmir Prime Minister Raja Muhammad Farooq Haider Khan says India has badly failed to suppress the will of Kashmiri people for their legitimate right to self-determination struggle. In a statement in Muzaffarabad today, he said the true representatives of Kashmiri people are in jail and the Indian Prime Minister's meetings with the so-called Kashmiri leaders is meaningless. Farooq Haider Khan said such meetings with the so-called Kashmiri leaders by Modi are aimed at hoodwinking the international community and diverting its attention from the deteriorating situation in the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir. Media reports suggest that in yet another attempt to appease the regional political parties of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and gain their sympathies, Indian Ministry of Home Affairs has said a committee will be formed by authorities in the territory to go through the list of political detainees on a case-to-case basis so that they could be released soon. The report said New Delhi's move is only meant to set free the pro-India political leadership, as India has no plan to release illegally detained Hurriyat leaders and activists. The head of Afghanistan's Peace Council, Abdullah, says long-stalled talks on a political settlement to decades of strife should continue unless Taliban pull out. In an interview to Reuters news agency, Abdullah said, "We should not shut the door unless it's completely shut by Taliban themselves." Abdullah said there was perhaps more optimism about a peace deal when negotiations began because Taliban said things to different interlocutors that created optimism. And finally, the weather report. Hot and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country, while very hot in plain areas during the next 12 hours. However, rain, wind and thunderstorm is expected at isolated places in Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Gilgit-Baltistan. To end the news, the main points once again. Prime Minister says scholarships will be given to young filmmakers to portray the real soft image of the country in the world. Foreign Minister says there is no justification to keep Pakistan on FATF grey list after it has implemented 26 out of 27 points of its action plan. Information Minister says Pakistan is interested in building economic relations with the United States to give bilateral ties a new dimension. National Assembly was informed today that solar and wind energy projects are being executed in the government's renewable policy to produce cheap electricity. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.